Yeah.
Can we start, Udaya?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, friends. Good evening to all of you. விழிப்புணர்வு அல்லது awareness. That's the title today. அறிவு அற்றம் காக்கும் கருவி சொல்வார்க்கும் உள்ளிழக்கல் ஆஹா அரண் என்கிறது குறள். அதாவது அறிவு இறுதி வரை காக்கும் கருவி என்கிறார் வள்ளுவர். பகைவர்க்கும் உட்புகந்து அழிக்க இயலாத கோட்டையாம் அந்த அறிவு ஆகும். சோ வள்ளுவர் சொன்ன வழிப்படி அறிவு அவேர்னஸை வளர்ப்பதற்காக இன்றைய அவேர்னஸ் ப்ரோக்ராம் நடத்த போகிறோம். தலசீமியாவை பற்றி டாக்டர் ரேவதி ராஜம், ருபெல்லாவை பற்றி டாக்டர் ஜெயஸ்ரீ கஜராஜம் சொல்ல போகிறார்கள். Now may I request Vaidehi to do the inner-wheel prayer and follow it up with the welcome address. Thank you, friends.
Good evening, everybody. Instill in us, O Lord, the true meaning of friendship. Never let us forget that we are all thy children, notwithstanding the differences in our cultures and creed. Endeavor us with a desire to serve our fellow men, remembering that we too often need help. Whenever or wherever the need for service arises, help us to be ready to serve, endeavoring to make our back of inner wheel worthwhile, ensuring that we have not lived in vain. Good evening, everybody. A warm welcome to all present here for this talk show today. As rightly said by our PDC Nalini Prabhakar, this is to create awareness about the two diseases less known to everybody, Rubella and Thalassemia. I would like to take this opportunity to give a warm welcome to DCRC Ponmari, who's joined us over the phone because she's traveling back home, to the district DC members, to the PDCs, to all my co-presidents and inner wheel members, and to the doctors, Dr. Revati Raj and to Dr. Jayashree Gajraj, will join us in a short while as her internet is just not working right. She's setting it right. Dr. Revati Raj will give us a speech about the causes, the remedy, the prevention and cure for thalassemia. And Dr. Jayashree Gajraj will talk to us about rubella. I take this opportunity to welcome PDC Nalini Prabhakar, who is the Special Projects Coordinator for rubella vaccine and the prevention. So it is under her able guidance, support that this program today has been coordinated by her and made it possible. So I welcome again all of you to this talk show. Over to you, Nalini. Nalini.
We will straight away go to the program, which means I invite our parent to introduce Dr. who's introducing
Nandini.
Yes, I have not written intro. Yes, yeah. Nandini. I invite Nandini to introduce her. See, as Dr. Jayashree is still finding it difficult to join. She'll join later, definitely. We will follow up as time permits. As soon as Dr. Revati is talking, you can post your questions on the chat box. Udaya and Vaidehi, I request to make a note of it also. I'll also be making a note. Yes. You can ask those questions. We'll give about 5-7 minutes of question answers. And let's see how Dr. Jayashree. If we wind up, we'll have the question answered after Jayashree's talk also. Okay, yes. We'll definitely have time for that. Thank you. Yes. Nandini, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nalini. It's a great privilege to introduce Dr. Revati Raj, Senior Consultant, Holistic Care for Cancer Children at Apollo Hospital. Her qualifications are DCH, MRCP, FRC, PATH, UK, and she is also trained in pediatrics, hematology, oncology, and bone marrow. Dr. Revati is invited for this who is invited for this awareness talk, will be giving us an insight for thalassemia. Thalassemia is a rare blood disorder, and she will be highlighting us more on this rare ailment. Over to you, doctor, for a deeper understanding about this ailment and preventive measures concerning the same. Over to you, doctor.
Thank you all, ladies and all members of the Rotary Club who have taken this initiative. I think every time I meet all of you, either in person or online like this, I'm amazed at the number of important projects you're taking up. And these are rare conditions, and you have all realized the value. You've put prevention rather than cure ahead of everything, which is the way to go for the future. So I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. If you can give me a minute to share my screen. Can you all see my screen, please?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we talk only about thalassemia, it can be a little bit difficult to understand for people. So I will take about 15-20 minutes to go through this presentation, and would be happy to answer questions at the end. And even if we can prevent one birth of thalassemia because of these 20 minutes we have spent together, I think it's a job well done. All of us love pink, being from little girls who like Barbie dolls, and for all of us who wear our pink saris, and pink is pretty. And that's why if you look at someone and they look pale, you know they're not okay. So pink is pretty. And so if someone is pale, what is the definition of anemia? Whenever the red blood cells in our body goes down, the amount of hemoglobin in the red blood cells go down. So the amount of oxygen delivered to the tissues is reduced. So oxygen carrying capacity of the blood, when it's reduced, we call it anemia. And for every age group and every gender, it's different. For men, if their hemoglobin is less than 13, we call it anemia. For non-pregnant women, 12, and during pregnancy, it's 11 grams. So you have to know all of this, because anemia is very, very common. It's estimated that in women between 15 to 49 years, this is 2011 statistics, but it holds good even today. And you can see that majority of our population is iron deficient. And we are iron deficient for different reasons during different time periods of our life. And we have the capacity to change this. And all of you could be a young mother or a mother of a teenage girl, or you can have grandchildren, or you yourself can be menopausal and have bleeding. So anemia is very common during our life. From head to foot, when we are depleted of oxygen, anemia can have any symptoms. So a patient who's anemic can have recurrent headache, or they can feel tired all the time, or their heart beats very fast, which we call palpitations, or when they climb stairs, they have breathing difficulty, muscles ache, or they won't feel like eating, and even if they force themselves to eat, they are vomiting. So every part of the body that's lacking oxygen can have symptoms, and the patient can present to us in any different ways. So there are three major causes of anemia. One is that we're not producing enough blood. Second is we are losing some of the blood we produce. And third, when the red blood cells break down in our body, that is called hemolytic anemia. So which of these three causes, when a patient presents to us, we try to deduce. So all of us love to listen to stories. So I thought I will give a clinical history of this 17-year-old girl who just started nursing college. She had heavy periods and she had hair loss. She felt tired all the time. So you can see her mouth and all is filled with little ulcers. And to the left is my hand. Compared to my hand, her hand looks so pale. So her hemoglobin was very low. You can see she's not someone who's been eating well. So what happens when we are anemic? Because of lack of iron, the red blood cells become really tiny. So On the left, you can see the iron deficient cells, which are all full of holes, not enough iron. But on the right, you can see healthy red blood cells. So when we are iron deficient, the red cells also become very pale. And this is the most common form of anemia, and it's because of malnutrition. So we have to give iron tablets. Sometimes people feel if I take iron tablets, I won't be able to digest it. So we have changed the way we treat iron deficiency. We give the patients the tablets alternate day on empty stomach. If we give once a day, alternate day, then the digestive issues are lower. And so this iron is digested in the stomach, carried over to the intestines, carried into the blood, into the red blood cells, and the excess iron is stored inside our bones and in our liver. So how to prevent iron deficiency through our diet? Obviously, meat and animal protein is the richest source of iron, but from a vegetarian diet, I've been a regular blood donor, so it is possible. So you combine foods which complement each other. Dal is a good source of iron, so complement it with iron, rice and dal, all sorts of green vegetables, fresh fruits. So if you combine green vegetables, fresh fruits, the vegetables have the iron, vitamin C in the fresh fruits help you digest the iron better. Because remember, if I take 10 milligrams of iron, I only digest 1 milligram, 10%. So we have to have foods which are easily able to give their iron. So like nuts, dried fruits, eggs and meat. So the incidence of iron deficiency anemia in the world population is very, very high, about 1/3. And it's more common in preschool children, in school age, in pregnant women. So this is something that you can spread awareness to say, if you're given the iron tablet, please take them, because some women feels that the baby will be dark, and if they take the iron tablet, won't be fair. So they don't take the tablet, or it's causing digestive symptoms. But it's very, very important to prevent iron deficiency at all age groups. School performance improves, activity improves. So if you're someone who's fighting a lot with your husband and have a bad temper, maybe check if you're iron deficient, and if you're corrected, things will be a lot happier in your house. The other group of people who have iron deficiency is little children who've just started weaning food. So these are twins that came to us through the grandmother, who's a very famous doctor herself. And because they were born premature and they were breastfed until 1 year, and after that, they were drinking predominantly milk. So you can see the children look so bony. Their weight and height was above the 90th centile. So they were growing very well, but they had extreme pallor because the milk that they were taking was preventing iron digestion. So it coats the stomach. So what we give is also important in what combination. So very small babies after the year of one year, make sure that the milk is cut down to less than 500 ml, because the more milk they drink, then iron doesn't get digested. So we put them on iron therapy and advise them to cut down on iron. So this is my the last story. Pregnancy is a very important time for many women. So the hemoglobin is low and the MCV is also low. So I will tell you about this MCV. This looks like an iron deficiency. So what will normal doctors say? You're iron deficient, take these tablets. But you look on the right side, whenever the machine gives us these values, it's very kind and it says plus or minus. Plus means that the value is higher than anticipated. Minus means it's lower than anticipated. So if we look at it, it's giving us a clue that there's something other than iron deficiency. So this is the only main message of today that I want to you to take. Iron deficiency anemia is very common, but 3% of the Indian population. So if 100 people are listening to this lecture today, 3 out of 100, we could be a carrier of thalassemia. A carrier does not have any illness. And a carrier has been made as a carrier because nature is beautiful. Where we have high malaria, if we have need natural protection against malaria, we are a thalassemia carrier. And in this, for making hemoglobin, we need 2 chains. One chain is missing. So there's a slight defect in the hemoglobin. So this I can detect using the simple blood test, because if I am a carrier, my partner is a carrier, then both the defective genes could go to a fetus. 25% chance of this happening. So I could have 10 pregnancies and be lucky and not have a thalassemia major baby, or in the first pregnancy that I have, I could have an affected baby. And why should we know about it? Because the simple blood test that I have not actually valued makes a baby tied for life. So you can see worldwide thalassemia carrier state is there in malaria endemic areas. You don't see it in the Caucasian population. In India, the high-risk groups are Sindhi, Punjabi, Gujarati, Bengali, Saurashtrian. And it's very sad because 10,000 new babies are born in our country every year with thalassemia major. So if you're a carrier, no symptoms. But if your baby is affected, they need monthly blood transfusion for the rest of their lives. This is a very big commitment for the family. It's a lifelong problem, physical, mental strain, and financial constraints, because every month you take time off to come for the transfusion. That is not the end of the story, because as they are being transfused, the iron in the 1 unit of blood accumulates in their body. So they have to have injections and tablets to reduce the iron. And the only curative option is changing their entire blood forming system, which is called bone marrow transplantation, which is very expensive. So a simple blood test could have prevented this entire journey. And you can see in countries like Italy, Greece, Cyprus, where it was very prevalent, especially Cyprus, just by testing the 2 partners, when they register the marriage, they have completely prevented new births of thalassemia. So this is a very effective program. And the simple thing for our people to say is, there are many famous thalassemia carriers. When we did school counseling, a lot of the families were not happy having their daughters tested, because if they find that the girl is a carrier, no one will marry them. But carrier state is not a disease. You know that there are famous thalassemia carriers like Zinedine Zidane and Pete Sampras, Amitabh Bachchan. So they're all fine. It's just for you to understand so that the next generation can be prevented. So there's a lot of lack of awareness, and even physicians are not aware. And we don't have government testing in place in our country for carriers, and there's a stigma. So this is a very hard-hitting campaign. The Foundation for Thalassemia, what would you be feeding your child? Is it blood or milk? So by doing a simple blood test, you can prevent. So how can you prevent? So I spoke about iron deficiency. I spoke about thalassemia carrier. Just a simple difference between the two. If a doctor looks at the blood reports, the red cells being small is called mean corpuscular volume. So normal size of red blood cells is 76 femtoliter. If they are smaller, it could be iron deficiency or thalassemia carrier. And how do I find out the difference? In iron deficiency, the RBC count, the red blood cell count goes down, but in thalassemia carrier, it is higher than normal. So it's there when we do the blood test, but it's overlooked because of lack of awareness. So this is something that we can all do. And if these reports are abnormal, then we do a special test called HB electrophoresis. If both partners are carriers, so this is the special test. This is normal. This hemoglobin A2 is the backup hemoglobin, and that will be elevated if you're a thal carrier, and the fetus can be tested. If husband, wife, both of them are carriers, then at 11th week pregnancy, we can test, is the baby normal? Is the baby a carrier? Is the baby affected? And we'll know the results in 2 weeks. So early termination of affected fetuses can prevent a birth. This whole process costs not much, but The cost of care is very high. Doing the simple blood test is 300 rupees. Chorion village sampling of the fetus, if I do, it's 30,000. But long-term care of a patient with thalassemia is about 3 lakhs per year, long-term. This is minimum. And as they grow older and older, the cost of care keeps increasing. So it's a very big burden to families. So I want to thank you all for your patient listening here and end this talk with only 2 important messages. Iron deficiency is common. By doing a healthy, balanced diet for your entire family, you can prevent iron deficiency. And anyone who's pregnant in your family, request for a thalassemia test. And if the lady is a carrier, ask the spouse to be tested. If one of them is a carrier, then there is no risk to the fetus. If both of them are carriers, then there's a 25% chance of the fetus being affected. And by doing a fetal testing, you can prevent lifelong suffering and pain for the child and for the family. So thank you so much for listening to this talk, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
I see Anita's questions. Anita, go ahead and ask yourself so far.
Okay, doctor, I had
Yeah, you have asked in the chat the half-life of iron tablets. So what we now understand about iron deficiency is it's linked to a protein called hepcidin. If this hepcidin protein is low in our body, we absorb a lot more iron. If hepcidin is high, we don't absorb much of the iron. So also they have tested that alternate day morning, hepcidin level is lowest. So instead of loading a patient with 3 times a day of iron, if I give the tablet alternate day morning on empty stomach, whatever is there gets absorbed. So there's minimum leftover in the gut. So the side effects of dyspepsia and bloating sensation are also lower and the outcomes are better. And the compliance also is better. So that's why we are using the alternate day early morning schedule now, which is very effective. There is also another question of thalassemia minor. If one of the couple is a thalassemia minor, yes, there's a 50-50 chance that the child will have thalassemia minor. And again, it's not a big problem because they only need genetic counseling.
doctor, I have one more question. How many of these genes are responsible for thalassemia? It's a multi-gene function or?
Yeah, this is the problem. So I can look at the thalassemia gene mutation and say you're coming from Cyprus, you're coming from Bengal, you're coming from Punjab. So it's unique. There are 400 different genes that can cause thalassemia. So that's why we have to do the gene testing in the child so that we'll know what is and in the mother and father. Mother will have 1 gene mutation and 1 normal gene. Father will have 1 affected gene, 1 normal gene, and the affected baby will have both the defective genes. So this is the way it goes, but the mutation is unique to each family. So we have to do the gene testing to confirm the diagnosis.
So is the mutation always on the same chromosomes?
So yeah, so alpha globin and beta globin is on chromosome 11.
Thank you. I'll stop with questions here.
Anybody else?
It is a very tough question what Dr. Shashi has asked, that if it's a precious pregnancy after IVF, how would you convince the mother on termination? I think any mom, if you say that your baby is committed to lifelong transfusion and daily medications, will definitely take up the termination option. In Tamil Nadu, we find that we have pockets of thalassemia carriers. So we did, with Rotary's help, a camp in Sitteri district of Dharmapuri. So totally 60 hamlets and all hilly districts of Dharmapuri and quite interior region. And because they have a lot of rains, a lot of mosquitoes, a lot of malaria, the incidence of thalassemia carrier was very high. When we did the testing, 23%. So it was really, really high. And people there thought there was something wrong with their water. That's why the children were weak. So sickle cell anemia is another similar problem where red blood cells are changing by nature to give protection against malaria. Again, sickle and thalassemia are more common in India compared to the rest of the world.
What is the lifespan of these thalassemia patients?
So in the 1960s, we used to lose them all between the age of 10 and 15 because the iron got deposited in their liver and in their heart. But in the 80s, iron chelation drugs came, and this is where the chelation pump is very important. You saw a picture of the needle under the skin. Not a very easy drug because iron is not water soluble. So we need medications that will dissolve it, make it water soluble so that it can come out in the urine. So in the 80s and 90s, we had only the injectable iron chelator, desferrioxamine, and the parents had to give the child everyday injections, which again was tough. But from the 1990s and 2000, we have tablets which they take to dissolve the iron. So the lifespan, we have patients in their 40s, but again, quality of life becomes a challenge. And if all of them, if you ask them, given a chance, if it could have been prevented, they would still recommend to others, do the preventative option. So a lot of our thalassemia patients are now getting married. We are doing spouse counseling, delivery of their babies, but all of these have had to run a marathon every day. It's not been easy.
Thank you, Dr. Nalini again. What can Innerville do to support? In what way? Already I can see Midtown Club doing a lot, but that is food part of it. Taking care of the underprivileged, donating food and whatever. Sachi is handling very well. Midtown is doing. And Midtown did give you all so many pumps, which also goes a long way in supporting the thalassemic patient. You've spoken about prevention, but the patients after they are born. Other than to throw some light, because Sashi also mentioned something about nutrients in the form of calcium. Other so Innerville friends can join hands with
so, yeah. So I think, yeah, Dr. Sashi, thank you very much for all that you're doing. When we are giving the oral iron chelation drugs, the patients lose a lot of zinc in their urine, and also their bones get weak and they need extra calcium. So supplying calcium and zinc vitamins is very, very effective. So if that can be sponsored, that will be good. But what I would like the ladies in the group to take up, maybe we can brainstorm and have a bigger voice in and address anyone who's looking after pregnant women. So how to get the message across with so much social media, so much awareness. If we can just say, just take an extra few minutes, check if this mother could be a thalassemia carrier, and just take an extra few minutes. Is the MCV low? Is this iron deficiency or is this thalassemia carrier? And if these patients who are carriers, if they can be worked up, for that we are happy to help. So many people are there to help and provide genetic counseling. So how to get this message across? Because for every family who has a patient, it's a big burden. And also not to stigmatize a carrier state. So if you're a carrier, you're stronger than others because you get natural protection against malaria. And somehow this sort of message has to go through. And I think educating women would be the way forward.
I have a question, rather idea. suggestion. See, when a woman gets pregnant, there are a series of tests that are being done on the pregnant woman in the first trimester. Can this test be made mandatory? You know, thalassemia.
Yeah, so my baby,
if that is
my baby, I delivered in the UK. So in every other country, doing the hemoglobinopathy screening is mandatory. But you can imagine in our country, it's still with so much of incidents, we still haven't given importance to this because people think still it's put under rare disease. But if you have 10,000 new births every year, which could have been prevented, I don't think it's that rare. Every life is precious. So
yes.
the ideal would be to test every woman during pregnancy. But
Yes.
if that can't be done, at least if we can educate the caregivers of women who are pregnant and say, look at the blood reports, which is available to everyone. Because if the physicians who are looking after, look at the blood reports, or in your family, if anyone has thalassemia carrier, request your doctor to do the testing. I think more people ask for the tests, then it will get more and more mandatory.
Yeah. Yes.
We just have to keep talking.
Yes.
So there is also a nice question on surrogacy or test tube baby. Yes, the technology exists in India. The technology is called pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. So the test tube baby, they take the egg from the mother, sperm from the father, make a 4-cell embryo. And out of the 4 cells, 1 cell can be taken out and tested if they have thalassemia or not. And once they know the fetus doesn't have thalassemia, take that embryo and put it into the uterus. Because as you rightly said, not everyone will be comfortable with termination. So if I'm a carrier, my partner is a carrier, I don't want to go through an abortion, this is one option.
Thank you, doctor. Next question is whether what is the percentage of
Thalassemia in Tamil Nadu. Yeah, Tamil Nadu is compared to other states is not so bad. The biggest burden in the country is in Punjab, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Bengal, so Maharashtra, so all of that, Andhra Pradesh. So we are not very low nor very high. So we are in the lower strata of the incidence wise. We have pockets, as I said, the Ooty, Nilgiris area, the Toda community, they have higher incidence. Then we have in Chitteri, Dharmapuri, then south in Tirunelveli, where there is a lot of consanguinity. So we have pockets like this. So even if we focus and aim to do some prevention program in these areas, it will work. A lot of people came from Rajasthan, so the Marwadi community, Saurashtra community who settled down around Madurai. So we can target these populations and do the testing. Still, it would be worth.
The North Indians are spreading a lot in Tamil Nadu nowadays.
Yeah, so
okay.
I think that's good because we have good skill mix and culture mix, but so our obstetricians and caregivers should be aware of thalassemia carrier because the incidence is definitely higher.
It's this is not contagious, right?
So thalassemia is a genetic blood disorder. It's not, doesn't spread from one person to another, not contagious. And, you know, this is something that is a preventable condition, that's all, but it's not contagious.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. Thank you.
Why is it so prevalent in certain communities? Is it because of their food habits or something like that?
No, as I said, nature wants to be survival of the fittest. So whichever pockets have a high incidence of malaria. So where I come from, in a hilly district, and in those areas, you change the red blood cells a little bit, then you get natural protection against malaria. And then we move around from our community, we migrate to other places. So it's only related to the incidence of malaria. That's all.
All right. It is not relation marriages.
No, but if you
Relative.
are a carrier, your cousin is more likely to be a carrier. So if you have consanguinity, any genetic disorder incidence will be high.
Okay. Okay.
What are the symptoms of thalassemia? What are the symptoms of
Of a carrier. A carrier has no symptoms. So that's why we have to look at their blood test and say you could be a carrier, and it doesn't harm them in any way. It's only a counseling how to prevent for the next generation.
What will be the cost for testing the blood?
So you do a normal blood test, a hemoglobin test. How much is your hemoglobin in that itself? If I can go back to my talk, and then we just have to look at the blood reports and make our decision whether you're a thalassemia carrier or you have iron deficiency. So if I look at this thing again, just by looking at my blood test, I can decide.
Oh, the normal blood test will give you the answer.
So this is a
Doesn't
normal
need
blood test. If I do, the machine will print out. Okay, sorry. I think.
Then
Went. 1 second.
normal. Yeah.
So this is the hemoglobin is 11.9. MCV, it's saying minus normal. This is the size of red blood cell. So it should be 76. Since it's 60.4, it is low. And then the RBC count normally should be 5.5 million. This is 6.14. It's saying plus. So if it's iron deficiency anemia, this RBC count also will be in minus. So this itself is giving me a clue. This could be a thalassemia carrier. And then I do this test called HP electrophoresis, where hemoglobin A2, which normally should be 3.5%, is higher. So this test is similar to HbA1c that they do for diabetics. So it's not a very difficult test to do. It's easily accessible.
Now,
So
while doing the sugar test, diabetic test, can't we not add this too?
Okay, so we have to do targeted screening. Supposing I'm 45, I've already completed my family. It doesn't really matter much if I'm a thal carrier. So I think if we target the 15 to 18-year-old and give some genetic counseling for prevention, it would be better.
No, it will be better for the teenagers also, because from 25 to 35 for the reproduction thing should be working well.
Yeah.
That's why. So 25 to 35, if they have a sugar base also, we have to test it.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, doctor.
So, doctor, for pregnant women, normal blood test won't be enough to show you whether they are thalassemia carrier?
If you know where they are coming from, if they are in the high-risk community, you have to do the special test called HB electrophoresis, which, as I said, is cost round about 300 rupees in most labs, and it will tell whether they are a carrier or not.
Thank you, doctor.
Nalini, is Dr. Jayashree on the call?
I did speak to her 10 minutes. She's tried everything, and she said after 5-10 minutes, if I don't get it, you'll have to excuse me. I'll make one call now, then we'll take a call in just about a few seconds. Okay, I'll be making her one more call.
She can also log in through her phone, Nalini. She can just give a oral presentation.
Okay,
instead of
I'll suggest
slides.
it right now. I didn't
Yeah.
think of that.
Yeah.
I'll suggest it right now.
Yeah.
Can I be excused because I have to go back to seeing patients, if you don't mind? And I really want to thank you all for this opportunity.
Any more
Thank
questions?
you.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you,
Thank you so
doctor.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
It was very informative.
முடிஞ்சுதா?
Bye.
Bye.
एक मिनट इधर ही रख वो टॉवल बाथरूम में रख
next வேற ஏதாவது டாக்டர் பேசுறாங்களா வைதேகி?
Yes, Vijay. Dr. Jayashree will join in just a few
Okay.
seconds.
Oh, okay. And she is talking about
Rubella.
Rubella. Okay. Is it thalassemia something that's
Just
over?
now. Just
Yeah,
now.
that she spoke very well, very clear.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Vaidi.
Yeah, you can try that. Udaya, doctor is asking, can I also share from the phone?
Yes, it's possible.
It's possible, madam.
We can.
Sorry. But you've given it to her, you have given it to me, so she's got it. The one who is hosting has got it. So நீங்க பேசினா போறோம். She will share it. Right, Udaya? நான் சொல்றது?
Ma'am, that's only a single side.
அவங்க சொல்றாங்க சைட் பை சைட் பண்ண முடியுங்க. Yeah. She said I can't share. Hi, Udaya. Has she given you only the profile or PowerPoint also?
Only the profile she shared.
Yeah.
Okay. And ஏதோ இருந்தது அதுல இது இருக்கு இல்லையா?
இல்ல.
சரி, okay. She said she'll try because she's never done it. But if not, share பண்ண முடியல, possible share பண்ண தெரியலையோ முடியலன்னா she will talk. Okay.
Yes.
Just give me a minute சொல்லிருக்காங்க. Just let us give us a
Done. Yes.
After she joins in, I'll request or right away I'll request
Anita to give her.
Watch out, Anita. If as soon as she joins, give the intro. Thank you.
Thursday morning. Morning.
I think we can chat until she comes. Friends, did you like the thalassemia talk?
Yes, she was very good. She was very clear and crisp up. She was answering.
Actually, Nalini, how Innoveel can help us by, doing tests for these college kids. And you don't need to specifically tell them that it's a thalassemia test. You can just say it's a blood test. And in case you're thalassemic, then you can, privately.
No, but
yeah, we
no,
can.
But Nalini,
Yes.
Nalini, we can do an awareness program.
Yeah.
Some colleges we can go and give them a talk and create an awareness.
One of the
particularly
points
girls' colleges, we can do that.
Very true. That's one point. She wanted awareness, and we've given that platform. We can take her and give. But our sonna madri, they are a little shy. If they find out that they are thalassemic, then they have to find the other partner non-thalassemic.
Yeah.
problem.
So this is something that we are not going to be doing only in girls' college. It has to be done in both boys and girls' college.
Sorry. Okay. That apart, this is medical perfect. We can do the awareness. I asked her how can the midterm club gave plenty of pumps, which helps them. It's a recovery process, sustenance thing in which go. They've got it. How do they sustain? We were only going to the underprivileged. The midterm just gave 10 pumps, which medical technically, I don't know how it helps. Maybe Shashi can help. And she was telling me about giving them calcium. Adaliyum we can all pitch in, over a period of time. It's not just a one-time project. Adanale, she said, we'll procure more clubs and more money, more calcium tablets to these children. That was one point. I was trying to get at it. I said, how can Innerweal get? By giving either pumps, they've given 10 pumps, we can give 10 more at a convenient time. If not pump, what else? Pump costs close to Kavita Terima or Sashi?
We gave 2 pumps, Nalini.
2 pumps.
2 pumps costed around for 75,000. 2 costed around 75,000.
Okay, 35,000 per pump. Calcium should be very easy. Sashi can get back. Dr. Jessie seems to be coming.
Jessie seems to be on.
We'll give her a big hand and then start off with her introduction.
I've connected, Ma, but I'm trying to get my presentation on. That is what I'm trying to do.
Anyway, we're happy.
So we'll be glad to have you on board. So it's I think I'll go with the introduction in the meantime. So it's a great privilege introducing Dr. Jayashree Gajaraj, who brings with her a rich experience of over 30 years in the field of obstetrics and gynecology. I must confess, doctor, that I had to actually keep running to internet to understand a lot of your qualification. Her awards and recognition started right from her MBBS days. She's won the Block Clock Gold Medal in Clinical Medicine in her final year of MBBS from Dr. MGR Medical University, and a first prize for her paper entitled Psychosomatic Disorders at Climactic. This was a competition conducted by the Women's Doctors Association in 1980. She's done her MD and DGO from University of Madras. She worked in the United Kingdom for 5 years and obtained FRCOD and FRCED in pelvic surgery. She's also obtained pelvic surgery and gynec oncology. She's been instrumental in introducing rubella and vaccination programs, cancer screening, menopausal and bone health. Dr. Jayashree has given awareness talks in several colleges and schools and supported rubella vaccination camps that have been carried out by Innerweal, which of course was coordinated by PDC Nalini. Dr. Jayashree is a founder secretary of Chennai chapter of Indian Menopausal Society and has professional memberships in Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecological Societies of India, Singapore, and UK. She's been running private practice in Chennai since 1994 and is also a senior consultant at NGM Healthcare and Apollo Hospitals. Dr. Jayashree, it's a great pleasure having you today. I know you've been here in spite of the problems. Over to you, Dr. Jayashree.
Is
she there?
Anita, she left. I think she's getting her thing. Joined. She joined.
Dr. Anita, I've just managed to get in.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, on another mail account. So I'll just share screen. Ma, give me 1 minute.
Yes.
Take your time.
Thank you. Sorry for. Are you able to see it, Ma?
Yes. Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor. Thank you.
So to begin with, let me apologize. I'm very sorry that there's been some confusion. I think I was out of station last 2-3 days and then discovered that my net was down. So extremely sorry. And thank you, Nalini, and the entire team for organizing this whole program, because I think one can never talk too much about rubella. We can keep on talking till we really make an impact and we are able to make a change, able to see that we do not have even a single case of deafness, congenital deafness due to rubella or congenital cataracts due to rubella. That should be our aim. So thank you everyone who's been putting in so much of effort over the last few years to try and get this done. it's again, sorry that I missed Revati's talk. It's something I always enjoy listening to. So sorry, Revati, I could not connect for your talk. So what is rubella? Rubella is, I think now at least people seem to know that it is another word for German measles. German measles is a viral infection, which is like a common cold. It's something like we have a running nose, watery eyes, maybe a little bit of flushing of the eyes. We think it's just a common cold or any other mild viral infection, but in fact, it turns out to be German measles even without our knowledge. So in Tamil, it's known as German Manalvari, German Tattammai. So there are many, many names for it. And it's also, of course, known as the Rubella Germania Tattammai. So there are different ways of calling it, but rubella is the most popular way of addressing it. So fever, very, very common. A little bit of red rash all over, again, not uncommon. Swollen glands is not always seen. Headache and flushing of the eyes is something that we see very often in any cold. So the reasons I'm highlighting these symptoms are because this can be mistaken for any other common cold or a common influenza-like infection. It is normally airborne, like all other, most of the other viral infections, and it's very similar to the flu in presentation. So this is how the rash can appear. This is an extreme form of the rash. We may not always see this much of a red rash. It may be just a minimal transient rash, which may disappear in a few days or even within 1 or 2 days. So it can be easily missed. That is the reason why I'm stressing so much on the fact that the symptoms are common with the common cold or the common flu. So it's usually a childhood infection, but definitely it can affect all age groups. And why we are concerned is because it can affect pregnant moms. So therefore, all age groups have to be kept in mind, not necessarily only the childhood infection. Most children or almost all children, since our vaccine coverage in India is extremely good, they get 2 doses of MMR, 12 to 18 months of age, and then again at 36 months. Now, generally, a booster is not something that is recommended across the field, but it is something to be kept in mind because the antibodies formed to these 2 MMR vaccine doses is what will affect our performance of the rubella infection or the effect on the baby later on. So when a mother gets rubella, why are we worried? Because it affects the baby. Now, in the first 20 weeks, it causes quite a lot of damage. 3 to 11 weeks, 100% of the babies will definitely be infected or will be affected in some way. And the abortion rate due to this is 20%. If, in spite of all this, the baby is born, the baby has a high chance of having what is called congenital rubella syndrome. The spectrum of how the baby can be affected, hearing loss is up to 92%, which is extremely high. Congenital heart disease in 65%. Impaired vision because of congenital cataract, 56%. And later, now you have neurological deficit, you have behavioral disorders, etc., which can be attributed to congenital rubella syndrome. And sometimes even 1% of diabetes mellitus can be affected. So the question then comes, can it be cured? Can it be prevented? Is a vaccine available? Is what we are asked repeatedly. Because we know that the spectrum of problems that can come up is so immense that these questions are naturally asked. So can it be cured? Once a congenital rubella has occurred, it cannot be cured, but it is certainly preventable and certainly a vaccine is available. So how does the vaccine act? Now, what the vaccine does is, now all of us, I think post-COVID are very familiar with vaccines, booster doses, formation of antibodies, etc. So when a vaccine is given, what it does is it acts like an infection, but in much, much lower doses. And causes the body to respond by forming antibodies. So antibodies act against the virus particles. So when these antibodies are sufficient, then they will again, by memory, start forming in the body whenever the mother is exposed to rubella infection later in life. And that is the purpose of giving the MMR early on. But what we have found in practice is, despite full MMR vaccination in childhood, about 15% of girls do not contain sufficient antibodies when they reach the childbearing age. So when they reach that age and they do not have antibodies, then there is a high chance of getting infected if they are exposed to rubella. How do they know whether they are exposed to rubella? They will never know. Why? Because the person sitting next to them or sitting 3 chairs away may be having a common cold. We may think it is a common cold. It may be rubella. So there is no way of saying, oh, that person is having rubella, so let me keep away from that person. That's never going to happen. So the other way of approaching it is by saying, let me have sufficient antibodies in my body so that if I am exposed to the infection, I will be able to fight it. So that is the way we should look at it. So it is normally given in the arm. That is what we call the deltoid muscle in the upper arm. That is where the injection should be given. So when all pubertal girls, all women of childbearing age can be given, and after delivery. So in spite of that is pubertal girls, usually the routine MMR vaccination will take care. Now, when women come to childbearing age, what we do is in the preconception period, if they were to come to us, then we actually check for the presence of rubella antibodies in these girls. One sec, sorry. We check for the presence of rubella antibodies in these girls. And if we find that they do not have antibodies, then we advise them vaccination. After vaccination, we ask them to wait for a month and only then try to get pregnant. After delivery, it's usually an opportunistic time because in most of the countries in the West, the first antenatal visit, mums are all checked for rubella immune status, which means antibody levels are checked. And if they find that they are not immune, then just before they get discharged after delivery, the rubella vaccination is given so that then for the next pregnancy, they are ready. Now, that would be one of the ways of following up, but better still will be the preconception period. That is either before they get married or before they plan to have a baby. If we get an opportunity to check the antibody levels, then we can give it. Now, antibody levels can be checked, but it can be expensive. And that is the reason why this practice of mass immunization came in. We said it is not cost effective to do the test, find out if they are immune status, and then try to give the vaccine. So if we have 100 girls, then it is best to just immunize all the 100 girls, assuming that they may or may not have the antibodies. Whether we should be giving to the males is a question that probably we will not address at the moment. So can pregnant women take the vaccine? A definite no, because this is actually a type of vaccine which can go and cause whatever problem a rubella infection can cause. So it should never be given. Pregnancy should be avoided for minimum 1 month after the vaccination is given. During the period, certainly it can be given. We always ask for the vaccination to be given after the woman starts having her period, within the first 3 to 4 days. Because then the chances, we know that then she's definitely not pregnant. And then we can advise contraception for the rest of that cycle. So it can be taken during periods. So once, if they have missed a period, so we always need to know whether they have missed a period. If they have, are they pregnant? If they are pregnant, then no vaccination. If they are not pregnant, then we induce a period by giving tablets, and only after the bleeding comes do we actually give the vaccination. So second half of the cycle, when there's a high chance that she may have ovulated and conceived, we do not give the vaccination. So once, some people ask us, so much of talk about rubella, or I've heard of awareness talk about rubella, I've completed my family, do I take the vaccine? Generally speaking, it's not needed. But if for some reason they are planning another pregnancy later on, then we always check the immune status. And if they are not immune, we give them the vaccine. So as a routine, it is not required for women who have completed their family. And the protection that is there is generally considered lifelong. There are very few side effects. It is well tolerated, that is the vaccination itself. And very rarely you may get local site pain, and rarely a mild fever may be present, nothing more than that. So basically what we are trying to say here is that we should actually, one, be aware of the fact that rubella is still rampant, be aware of the fact that it can cause a lot of harm to the baby if the mother does not have the immunity. And thirdly, the vaccination part of it, I think the fact I told you earlier that about 15% of girls, despite having the MMR, do not contain antibodies. And that is the cohort that we have to concentrate on. And this cohort of people, there is no way of recognizing them unless they come to you prior to pregnancy and you're able to check their immune status, or we approach girls who are either in the late adolescence or early reproductive period, that is the early 20s, well into the late 20s and early 30s. Whenever we get an opportunity, we try to check so that we can give them the vaccine. And I've actually been following this maybe for the past 30 years, and it's very gratifying because we have found women who have not been, who don't have the immunity, and we think we have been able to save a lot of babies. So thank you. I'm quite happy to take any questions.
Shall I ask? Sandhya Ramesh has asked, is it okay to have a second dose if you are not sure? Ma'am, you said it would seem like a cold or so contagious. Right, Sandhya? If I'm wrong, speak up. Speak up, the doctor will answer now.
What she means is, if it is like contagious, like you have a cold, will anybody else also get it? That is the question.
Yes.
It is contagious. Okay.
Yes, it is contagious. And that's the reason why we have to be careful. See, I have had one instance in my own clinic where, this person who was actually working with me, she was pregnant, early pregnancy, about 20 weeks. And somebody who had come in with a cold, actually, we just thought it was a cold. Then later on, she broke out into a rash. And then it turned out to be that she had rubella.
Okay.
And then this question was, this girl who was with me was actually exposed. Should we go for a termination? Should we not go for a termination? See, it was a major dilemma. We couldn't really make a decision. And this is in my, somebody who was a doctor who was working with me who was exposed because one of the patients had. And then there were other antenatal, pregnant women sitting out in the clinic with her. So then it also becomes a moral responsibility for us. And how much can you screen? How much can you follow up? It's a nightmare actually.
So women are more prone to this than men. Both men and women are equally affected.
Yes, equally affected. But women, the problem is because they're bearing children.
Okay.
So, and when they are pregnant, the virus infection will affect. That is the reason why we target the girls and the women of reproductive age group.
25 to 40 would be the age group you target. Members, any more questions you would like the doctor to answer? Sandhya Ramesh has asked, can men be carriers?
Yeah, they can be.
Carriers, as in definitely. I mean, they have rubella, they have a cold, they can give it to the wife who's pregnant.
Yeah, doctors suggest women because women are bearing the children. the men can be carriers and give it to them and their own wife and they'll suffer. So,
see, the exposure is what is important, because when they are exposed, if they have the antibodies, it doesn't matter. But when they don't have the antibodies and they are pregnant is when they are at risk.
that's why you are suggesting mass immunization and immunization, even if you have the least doubt, and carry the record till you.
Yeah.
Right, doctor? Then you can tell them more about that.
And create enough awareness in that girl stroke woman, because see, another problem that we come across is a lot of the labs report rubella positive. Okay, so when they walk in, we know there's something wrong because they're terribly worried. Okay, and when it takes time to convince them that you are actually having immunity, you have IgG antibodies, and that's why they reported you as positive. So being positive for rubella is something good. So a few labs, I've been able to talk to them and ask them to report it as rubella immune, rubella non-immune. Okay, or they use the word rubella reactive, not reactive. But the minute the word positive comes for a viral infection, I don't blame them. I mean, even all of us would be worried. But one thing good COVID has done is it has given a lot of, educated a lot of people about viral infections and the formation of antibodies, immunity, etc. So people are actually able to understand much better.
So a question from Navneet Raghavan is, men too can be vaccinated for this rubella disease?
There can be, because,
there's
even,
no gender.
Male children also get vaccinated. It's not that they don't get MMR.
So is the test expensive for the rubella? Is it expensive, or what would be the cost?
It's about 300 to 400, depending on the class.
As against the vaccination cost itself, which is very, very, very low.
Low, and the incidence of side effects is also very, very low.
Nil, practically nil.
Yeah.
Yes.
How does, actually, I'm told they are asking men, vaccinating men also, because the government is going towards, WHO and government wants eradication of rubella. They had done 2023, but we are already there. So maybe another 3-4 years we should do it. And they made it compulsory for all the newborns. What about the others who are yet in the fertility? And about what can inner wheel do besides awareness? Yeah, awareness is one thing. Any other suggestion?
See, I think now vaccine, we were giving a lot of vaccinations, and then the Tamil Nadu government itself took it up. So I'm not sure whether some of you may have logged into a program which I did on the 5th of November last year, where we spoke, Dr. Mohan Kameshwaran spoke about deafness in children. And he discussed rubella as one of the reasons for it. The health minister was there, and I actually promoted this thing about rubella vaccination, rubella immunity, etc. And they have agreed to take it forward.
Okay.
So I am in the process of trying to talk to them and see whether we from the private sector can get involved and contribute to the government schemes. So that is underway, but you know how long it can take, some of these things.
Yes.
I'd ask, is it also a good thing? You have made us aware. We can carry the message as Innerville members, women, carry the message to immediate family, extended family, friends, etc. And it becomes our responsibility to carry it to the underprivileged, like our cook, our electrician, vendors, whoever you can think of. Is that right, Doctor? Would that be a good suggestion from you?
Certainly, every opportunity.
So that's for us Innerville members to take it across in every which way possible.
Yes.
And to keep the record, I am said, it's very, very important. It's being asked every other time.
Yeah, even your own families, if you take your, your adolescent daughter or your daughter who's planning to go in for a pregnancy to the doctor, ask the doctor, can I, I want to know her immune status, so can you please check? Because I'm sad to say that awareness even amongst doctors is still not as good at it as it should be.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, we have had people advise termination, advise treatment for being positive for rubella. So that's why I try to get the reporting, the nomenclature changed. So people have been treated for 2-3 weeks also because they are rubella positive. So it is a lot of work to be done. I think repeated talking will definitely make her. I've had one patient who her husband had served a lawyer's notice for divorce because she was rubella positive.
Atrocious.
And
Atrocious.
whatever the reason was, she came into my clinic and said, "Doctor, you are responsible for this because you checked my rubella status."
Oh.
It has come as positive, and the lawyer in his note has actually written, the wife is rubella positive, she's carrying multiple infections, therefore we want divorce.
How silly.
This was the actual verdict.
Could you then say, you idiot, if you immunize her, she'll be okay?
No, I think this is one of the things that's being implicated. You know that it's not so simple, isn't it?
Okay, that's a silly reason though. Okay, I want to also tell whoever asked about men, it's a quick incident. In my family, my son, who was applying for a green card, actually both my sons, when they applied for I-20 going abroad, they had to go through a rubella vaccine. They didn't have a certificate because children's certificate, we didn't keep it safe. So they both had another vaccine at that point of time. And they got their I-20, they left, they got married, they got children. At 40, my son was going through the green card. He had to get rubella vaccination. He calls me and said, "Amma, get the certificate." I said, "I don't have it, you have it." Then the doctor suggested have one more. He had completed, he's 40, completed his family, he's not going to have it. But US is trying to prevent any carrier at that age.
Yeah.
Friends, it is for us to get all the children immunized right early, between 6 and 15, get it done. But even if the government starts now at 6 or whatever, okay, next 15 years, after 15 years, it will be eradicated. WHO is aiming at eradication, government is aiming at that. So we are immunizing everybody. But now, those between this, 15 and 25 or 30, doctor says you can have them immunized even after pregnancy, but make sure you're not pregnant. All this doctor said. So at 40, after completing, he had to go through just for green card sake. So the card that you have been immunized is important. And get immunized is also important. Yeah, Vasanthi is saying something. Thanks.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Vasanthi, go.
Yes, Vasanthi.
I just want to tell that government should make it like Aadhaar card. It is a mandatory for everybody, whether it is men or female, to go through this test and make sure that, because if only ladies do, as Nalini said, as doctor said, they may reject marrying her. So if both of them do like this, if it becomes this thing, then it is okay. If they agree, they will marry, otherwise no, like that. It will not come to the doctor for you tested, that's why it happened. So like that, nobody will tell.
See, there's one more interesting fact that probably I should share with all of you. There are some temples in Tamil Nadu where they insist on a vaccination, rubella vaccination stroke rubella immune certificate before they allow the couple to get married in that temple.
Yeah.
Yes. Vadaparani is one of them. Recently, I heard Tiruvannamalai is one of them.
Kumbakonam Perumal Kovil also has that. And I have the papers there.
Actually, what I have requested the minister on that day is, see, now this way we are only going to be covering maybe a part of one community or one religion. Whereas if the registration of marriages at that time, if they insist, then it will cover all sects, all communities within our social thing. So that is what I have requested, and I'm working on it, but not making much headway. But
very nice.
But definitely, this booster dose of after 6 years and later has been made mandatory in the KVPata. I'm sure you know better.
Yeah, they're giving the booster dose now. But that also, in spite of that also, the seroconversion is still lacking in a certain percentage.
It will take another 15 years for those girls and boys to grow up.
Yeah.
Next 15 years, we need to be careful. Thank you. I understand your point. Friends, more questions? May I then ask our district chairman, Arasi, to say a few words?
Good evening, friends. Good evening, doctor. நம்ம ரெண்டு பேருக்கும் நிறைய அறிமுகம் இருக்குன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். 6 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி ஒன்னா நளினி பிரபாக்கரோட சேர்ந்து ருபெல்லா நிறைய பண்ணியிருக்கோம் ஸ்கூல்ஸ் அண்ட் காலேஜஸ்ல. ருபெல்லா என்னை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் ருபெல்லா is what that catapulted me to the post I am in today. It gave me so much of exposure to club members and clubs, and then they realized that I could also do something for the Innoveel and to the society. I had a real opportunity to present myself to everybody. But nice concept, doctor. இது வந்து கவர்மெண்டே இதை எடுத்துனதுக்கு அப்புறம் நம்மளோட ரோல் ரொம்ப குறைஞ்சு போச்சு இல்ல. When we were propagating rubella awareness, the government was not in. Actually, the Rotary through Nalini Prabhakar, they were all insisting on the government also take it up in the schedule. 3 years later, it came in the schedule itself. So we all took a back seat at that time. Now, once again, she has started creating awareness among students. Actually, what I personally feel after listening to all your talk was, okay, the current set of children for the past 4 years, the newborns are being given rubella vaccination. Like what happens to the teens, the girl children and the boys who are teenagers today? Is the government giving them vaccine?
Yeah. Government has always been giving MMR.
But teenagers ku kuda kudukrangala?
The booster dose is not widely available. I think the government sector, at least it's available, but they never go back for their vaccination. So that also happens.
Okay,
it is their schedule.
Okay. Friends, that is where we should step in to do this awareness talk in schools. Like I heard somebody what Innoveel can do in this getting Elia. இன்னும் இந்த இப்ப நியூபார்ன் 4 வருஷத்துல நியூபார்ன் இருக்கிற பசங்க டீனேஜ் வந்தா கூட at that time they should go for a booster dose அப்படிங்கிற awareness from now onwards we should take it forward for students from 8th standard itself. We may not indulge in giving a vaccine, but we can insist on them to go for a booster dose. Why wait till you go and register your marriage or you want to get married? Today, marriage is when they come to the marriageable age, marriage itself will become out of fashion. As it is today, living together is a fashion.
Even then, if you get pregnant and get a baby, that's dangerous. No, Arasi, coming back to the main thing, this is where Innoveel has come in. Yeah. Doctor said, create awareness. We have been doing it for umpteen number of years. And these children, now government has made it compulsory. Doctor just said up to 6 years and all. And the person 6 they need to be vaccinated. That's where we come in. We are telling, like you said, we did go to schools and colleges, but when he doctor addresses 500 children, we need a consent from the parent or guardian. அதுல 15, 20, 50க்கு மேல வர மாட்டேங்கிறது. How much we are struggling, doctor knows. So I started telling the women folk, they will take action. Children வந்து ஸ்கூல்ல இன்ஜெக்ஷன் போடுறாங்கன்னு might say பிள்ளைங்க ஸ்கூலுக்கு போல because இன்னைக்கு ஊசி போடுறாங்களாமா, நான் ஆரையும் அனுப்பல. So it is impossible to reach them. So we women will make sure. I told her, you need to get your children immunized. So we women will take care. We tell our children, grandchildren, extended family, cousins, everybody. And that's why doctor just mentioned, take it to the underprivileged. Take it to the people, your cook, your maid, your...
See, only among the underprivileged and illiterate people, the ignorance is more.
We need to do that. We are there. That's where our job is.
They're also scared of any after effects of the vaccine. ஒரு வேக்சின் போட்டா ஜுரம் வருமா? அந்த ஜுரம் வந்துச்சுன்னா ஒரு நாள் அவனால ஸ்கூலுக்கு போக முடியாது, வேலைக்கு போக முடியலன்னா அவனுக்கு அந்த வருமானம் பாதிக்கும். இல்லைன்னா ஒரு நாள் வீட்டுல காவல் கோத்தர் அந்த குழந்தைக்கு உட்காரணும்.
அதான் ஒண்ணுமே கிடையாதுன்னு இப்பதான் டாக்டர் சொன்னாங்க. Doctor said practically nil, sir. 0 or 1%.
So that we'll have to impress upon the students as well as the mothers, parents.
That's where we come.
That is where Innovil should step in, and every club should carry for ஒரு கிளப் வந்து ஒரு வருஷத்துல 5 schools and collegesல போய் awareness talk பண்ணா, that means you would have covered the entire city itself.
That's a good point. You start telling them now and follow.
Carry it forward. Yeah. Vaccine part விட்டுருங்க, வேக்சின் அவங்க போய் போட்டுக்கிட்டோம். முடிஞ்சா நம்ம வந்து ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்ஸ்ல கவர்மெண்ட் இன்சிஸ்ட் பண்ணுவோம் வர சொல்லி. ஆனா அவேர்னஸ் கொடுக்க வேண்டியது நம்மளோட டியூட்டி.
Yes.
That we have to do. Thank you friends for lovely awareness talk today. Thank you doctor for having come in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad I was able to come in. I thought I would not be able to.
No problem. Thank you. I'm so happy you could make it, doctor. I was also feeling a little upset, then you made it. Thank you very much. For the formal vote of thanks, Rema of Madrid, can I request you?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening to all. It gives me immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks to all the dignitaries present here in this virtual program. First, I'd like to thank the eminent doctors, Dr. Jayashree Gajraj and Dr. Revati Raj, for taking time off their busy schedule and enlightening us on the diseases such as Rubella and Thalassemia, respectively. Thank you, Dr. Jayashree and Dr. Revati. We really appreciate your efforts to promote awareness of these lesser-known diseases, which would go a long way in trying to control their spread. Next, I'd like to thank District Chairman Arasi for being present at this program and for her inspiring words. Thank you, District Chairman. A heartfelt thanks to all the PDCs and district members who have attended the program. Thank you, PDC Vasanti Rao, PDC Radha Sankarakrishnan, PDC Nalini Prabhakar, Special Projects Coordinator for Rubella, District ISO Supriya Sundararaman, and an AC member, Kamla, Dr. Shashi, for attending this event. I'm sorry if I've left out a few. And special thanks to PDC Nalini Prabhakar for her efforts in putting together this event and for emceeing as well. Thanks to Udaya of Bay City for live streaming and uploading to the YouTube, and for Anita Balachanda and Nandini Arun for introducing the speakers. Finally, the presidents of the two clubs, IWC Central and IWC Madras Midtown, Vaidehi and Tanuja Isvina, for organizing this lovely program. And last but not least, all the people who logged into the program to make it a success. Thank you all.
Thank you, friends. Had a good time with you all. Thanks for being around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you.